Next, we'll have Kate Fiske come and speak for us, and you know she is our pastor's wife, and she does many things in our church behind the scenes that we don't even know what all she's doing, and we do appreciate her. So we'll have her come forth at this time.
Like Renee said, I like to be behind the scenes. This may be my one and only time up front here. Maybe we should pray first. Lord, we ask you now for your blessing on this time. We give all praise and glory and honor to you. Amen. All right, I want you to know that this is really casual, and if you want to raise your hand or if you want to just blurt out something, that's okay. This isn't a formal talk by any means. I had asked if I could be in the fellowship hall because I just wanted it to be more comfortable. And really this talk could have used slides, but I didn't want to use PowerPoint because too often I do hide behind PowerPoint. And I thought, no, I'm not going to use slides. So I'm going to actually draw for you. Oh, I have to get stuff off of there too. I'm just going to be back and forth. I'm sorry, this is kind of unorganized, but anyhow. So, but this go up? Oh, I could go, or I could shove it like this. Is that better? Oh, yeah, we could do that. Like I said, it's casual. Yeah, and then I can walk over there and get my props. All right. Does that look better? Okay. All right. And if it falls, it's okay. All right. So when Gail and Kathy asked me to do this, I did not feel qualified, but there are two areas that I enjoy speaking about, and one is plants. And about 35 years ago or so, I worked for the Agricultural Extension Service, and I was a horticultural specialist. So my job in the county I worked was to talk to garden groups and clubs like the Kiwanis clubs, and to be on the radio and answer questions and go to people's homes and diagnose plant and garden problems and write articles for the newspaper. And I loved that. I absolutely loved that job. And it was only for a couple years, unfortunately. It was in the early 80s, and that was during the farm crisis. And along with many, many farms shutting down, so did the Agricultural Extension Service cut back a lot of jobs. And horticulture was one of those areas that wasn't essential, and so the horticulture jobs disappeared. So that's one area. I do feel comfortable talking about plants. The other one is teaching, and I homeschooled my children, and then I started substitute teaching for the Morris School District, and I did short-term and long-term substitute teaching for about 10 years, and now I work as a para with learning disabled children, and they still call me in to sub. I just finished 2 months of subbing, doing 2 challenge classes for first and second graders, so I feel comfortable teaching. So anyhow, so what you're going to end up with is plants and teaching today. I have my whiteboard. And so if any of you are goofing off, I'll give you that teacher glare. So I started praying about what I should do and what I am most comfortable as far as in what I would want to communicate with you, and what just kept coming back and is really a theme in my own life is the verse in Isaiah 6:3, and it's the whole earth is full of his glory. And I will read just the verse around the main verse. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated on a throne, high and exalted, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were seraphs, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, and with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying, and they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. And if you notice when you first come in the sanctuary on Sunday, if you are here, there's a slide up, and the Sundays I do PowerPoint, I do use this verse often because I will put up a slide of something that's going on in nature at the time, and what a way to start your worship of God is, oh my goodness, look at the robins are back, the whole earth is full of his glory. Oh my goodness, look at this flower, it's just amazing, the whole earth is full of his glory. And some of my favorite slides are of insects, and I love listening to people when they come to the sanctuary because they'll go, ooh, that spider, because I have a great slide of a spider, a garden spider that I put up, and the whole earth is full of his glory. And I love insects. And I know I'm probably one of the few in this crowd that enjoys insects. And Andy Trofe might like them better than I do, but I don't know. He knows more about insects than I do, but Andy Trofe is another fellow insect lover. And so the other day there were some women at church, we were talking about ants, and a couple of the women said, oh, those dirty ants. And I said, no, ants are not dirty. Don't worry about it. They're not dirty. Well, I know it's a losing battle to convince women ants aren't dirty, because they aren't, but, you know. Anyhow, so what I want to show you, when I was a student at the University of Minnesota studying horticulture, and I was in the department, or the College of Agriculture, and I worked for the horticulture clinic as a student, and what it was, they had about 5 or 6 students who would, we had this office, and we would answer telephone calls and letters and people inquiring about plant problems or questions, and it was before computers, so we did all the research, and so then we would answer these questions, and there were walk-in people, and it was a part-time job I had during the school year and then a full-time job in the summer, and it was before I graduated. And somebody came in, and they had this caterpillar, and I'm not an artist. I have 2 sisters that are artists. I didn't inherit it. But this is what the caterpillar looked like. It was a little green caterpillar, and it had these little white things on it, and it was on a piece of yarrow. And if you know what yarrow is, it's a group of flowers in a cluster, and they're tiny little white petals. And we looked at the caterpillar, and as we looked closer, we thought, okay, it says the little white stuff all over it. And then we looked closer, we realized, oh, they look like little petals. And then the caterpillar did the most amazing thing. It took a petal off the flower and it applied it to its back. And we were just stunned. This caterpillar is taking petals and putting it on itself. And then it curled up, and so these little petals, what did it look like? It looked like a little flower. Absolutely amazing. My boss had never seen anything like it, so we brought it over to the entomology department, and I'm sure the head entomologist knew what it was. I don't remember now. You know, I remember I went back to the horticulture clinic, and it always stuck in my mind, boy, what was that? And so now we have the internet, and I Googled it, and yes, we definitely have this in Minnesota. It's called the, I have it written down, the wavy-winged, the wavy-lined emerald moth is the name of the moth, or the camouflage looper. A looper is a caterpillar that goes like that. And so obviously it is camouflaged, It's about 17 millimeters, so it's a little less than, the moth is a little less than an inch. And it's green, and it has these little wavy lines. So if you ever see a little green moth that has wavy lines, the caterpillar then is a camouflage looper. And the looper, you can find it on yarrow and goldenrod, laetris, black-eyed Susan. So it's not always going to be white. You could take little purple bits of laetris or, but if you Googled it, you can see pictures, and I might even steal a picture and use it for PowerPoint on Sunday the next time. So, by your faces, I've convinced you insects are pretty cool, aren't they? The whole earth is full of His glory. Just absolutely amazing. The next thing, I have just a few wows that I want to talk to you about. I do have a BS from the College of Agriculture and Horticulture Science, as I said, and I worked for the Ag Service, and then I worked for Northrop King. But growing up, I always wanted to be in some kind of ministry, and so I went to Bethel Seminary, and I met Ivan. Going to Bethel Seminary, I thought, okay, I can get Bible training, and with my agriculture background, maybe I can go into missions and use both together. I met Ivan and came to Quamba. So then, we raised our kids, and I was thankful that I had my science background. I was thankful. One summer, I wrote a series of gardening articles for the Kanabec County Times, and I do still love gardening. I am not a vegetable gardener, though. I don't like vegetables. Don't tell anybody that. I don't like freezing and canning them. I'm sorry. I should not admit that. But one thing that I noticed as working for the Ag Service, the Agriculture Extension Service, is that people would have these big plans for their gardens, and we had lots that they could rent, and by the middle of the summer, Joe, another extension agent, we'd take lawnmowers out there and just mow down the gardens because people gave up. They had too many weeds, they had big plans, they couldn't keep up. And so my philosophy developed, and it continues today, is plant what you enjoy, plant what you can handle. Some people love big gardens, and I love that Vicki and Donnie raise vegetables and freeze them for their grandkids, and others love it because they have chemical-free vegetables, and others it helps to supply vegetables and fruits for the years. I just read about a woman who is 99 who died, and she just died a week ago, and she's 99, and she had 13 children, and she put up over 1,000 jars every year for her children. And that's amazing to me, and I honor those kind of people. That's wonderful. But I just feel like if you don't have that gumption, don't do it. And plant what you want, enjoy what you want. If you want just a little flower bed, do it. If you want more, whatever. So that's kind of my feeling. Don't feel like you're not a gardener if you don't have a huge, massive garden. You're a gardener if you just love a little flower. And anyhow, I love perennials, so I have perennials. And something really cool a few years ago came out, and maybe you have heard this before. Oh, before I say this, again, I love perennials. I love to be out in the garden. I love the creativity. I love the fresh air. I love the amazing look. You look at flowers closely. You look at soil closely. You look at insects, all of it. Again, the whole earth is full of His glory. But something came up in the news a while back about the soil. And in the soil, there's a strain of bacteria. And well, I was going to write it out for you, but maybe I won't. It's Mycobacterium vaccae. Where is Cindy? Does that sound familiar to you, Cindy? Anyhow, this came out about 7-8 years ago in the news, and then I looked again recently to see if there's any updates about it. Well, this particular bacteria that is in the soil reacts to our body, and it causes our brain to release serotonin. And the serotonin is a chemical, or what that does is it relaxes us. It reduces our anxiety. It also helps us cognitively. It helps us to think better. And it initially was used, this bacteria was used on some lung cancer patients. They were hoping it would do something with the cancer. The side effect is that it elevated the patient's moods, it decreased anxiety, and it found that they could think better. And when I read that, I just thought, oh my goodness, the whole earth is full of His glory. You think about the Garden of Eden, how wonderful that must have been, full of plants and vegetables and fruits and providing everything for us. And on top of it, the soil gives us pleasure. The soil elevates our mood. The soil decreases our anxiety. They have gone on and done more tests with rats. And they're finding they are responding to it also. And, it's a continuing, research. But you go on garden blogs and all the garden blogs are alive saying, we knew it. The garden is our happy place. And there's a chemical reason. And isn't that wonderful? God has provided that for us. We at one time did have to plant, and we still do. We do still have to plant. We still need to eat through agriculture, but a lot of it's done for us now. But you just think about how, even though we have to fight disease and we have to fight insects and we have to fight weeds, there is something in the soil that provides us joy, is guess what I would have to say. And maybe I'm exaggerating it a little bit. Maybe for some it isn't, but maybe we don't even know for certain that, whoa, this soil really is making me feel better. And it's all because of the Lord, His creation. So that's number 2 that I just thought was very cool. The third thing that, I'm just checking my notes here, that I haven't forgotten anything, because I am kind of rambling on. The third thing that is just very cool about plants, and I'm sorry I'm saying cool a lot. I don't even know if you say cool anymore, do you? Do you say cool anymore? Yeah. I'm a product of the 70s. All right, how many of you have ever heard of Fibonacci numbers, or Fibonacci if you're Italian? I see Candace shaking her head, yes. Anybody else ever heard of? Oh, Sarah, right, homeschool mom. All right, Fibonacci or Fibonacci numbers are these. So, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. So you add the one prior to the next number. So 1 plus 1 is 2, and then 1 plus 2 is 3, and 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, 5 plus 8 is 13, 8 plus 13 is 21, 13 plus 21 would be 34, and it goes on and on and on. I don't want to get too hung up on all of the numbers, because it just is one of those things where you think, how can you not believe in a God, in the God, the Creator? Because these numbers are found throughout nature, and you see them in art, you see them in architecture, you see them in plants. Now I'm going to get my little the pineapple is a good example. Now I have tape here because this tape indicates the spirals that go this way on the pineapple, and the spirals that go this way. Well, on most pineapples, and I'm not going to say every single pineapple because chances are you're going to go to the grocery store and get a pineapple and it's not going to be the right number, but almost every pineapple you have 8 going in one direction, 13 spirals going in the other direction. 8 and 13. On many, many pine cones, you have 5 and 8 spirals. And if you kind of hold this pine cone a certain way, then all of a sudden, oh, I can see those spirals. And I counted these out this morning, or yesterday, and if you want to come up, especially the kids later, it's really cool. You can kind of tilt it and you can see. And at first you think, oh, there has to be more than 5 going this way. Well, I marked one to make certain, and there's 5 going this way. And now this one is really hard, but the other spirals will be 8. So this would be 5 and 8. Many, many pine cones have 5 and 8 spirals. Pineapples will have 8 and 13. You see it also in cauliflower. If you look closely at cauliflower, there are these swirls. And if you stopped and counted the swirls, they will come out to a Fibonacci ratio. The one which would really be great if I had a slide is a sunflower. Sunflower, if you look at sunflowers, there's these incredible swirls in the sunflower seeds. And if you started counting them, they go like this, and then it goes in another direction. You know, again, I'm not an artist, and there's actually can be more than 2. There could be 3, 4 different sets. But if you counted them all, they will be Fibonacci. And they can go as high as 144 going in one direction, 233 going in another direction. They aren't randomly placed. The cells in a plant, if the cells all went this, if the cells are all in a straight line in plants, if the cells just were not at an angle, they would all be in a straight line. But plant cells develop at angles. And as these angles develop in certain plants, you have these amazing swirls. And you might say, well, how come? Well, as you get higher with these ratios, what happens is it becomes the perfect ratio. It's called the golden ratio. I just have to find it in my notes again so I'm saying it correctly. The golden ratio, and it's hard to explain it all, but it's the perfect ratio of numbers, how they fit together, and certain plants use it so they have the optimum number of seeds. So it's all I can't say it. It's optimum. Anyhow, it's optimum. If the ratio was varied at all, it would look like this. Even by a slight tenth, the seeds would be like this, or the seeds would look like this, or they might just look like this. But look at all the space. So it's just kind of an amazing thing. You know, you stop and think, and I know we have this in other areas too, in our body and in space and all that, but this is plants. There's a definite purpose. There's things come together. It isn't random by any chance. The other thing about the Fibonacci number is that it also provides the perfect angle for leaves. And I know it's just kind of hard for you to see. You know, we talk about opposite leaves and alternate leaves, but did you know as the opposite and alternate leaves are on a stem, it also rotates on the stem. You don't just have opposites right below or alternates right below, right below. There's a slight rotation. And so if you look at it, the leaves don't overlap until there's been 13 of these, and then there's an overlap. And when you count these rotations and overlaps, it's again a Fibonacci ratio, and it provides the optimum sun exposure to the plant. So again, looking at plants, it isn't, you know, we think it's just a simple plant, but it's not. There's amazing things about plants, and it's just God's glory when you look at this one. I had to peel back 13 also before they actually overlapped, and then it rotated at least 8 times. So anyhow, that number, those Fibonacci numbers, you see them again. You see them in seashells, how they turn. You see them in design. There's the Fibonacci curve. And so it's all through nature, but the whole earth is full of His glory. And to me, it's amazing. So those are my horticulture lessons for today. One thing I wanted to leave you with is that gardening can be a ministry too. When I started planting flowers outside of the parsonage, a neighbor who I never really talked to started coming up and saying how much she loved the flowers. And I know this neighbor has had a very, very hard life, and I know she suffers with some mental illness, but she would come and talk about the flowers, and sometimes she would just even park her car outside on the street and sit in her car and look at the flowers. And I said, come on up, you want me to pick you some flowers, whatever, but mostly that's just what she wanted to do. And I have to believe that she saw God's glory also in those flowers. I don't know if she's a believer or not, but you know, the whole earth is full of His glory, and God reveals His glory in so many ways, in different ways, and gardening is certainly one of them. I also wanted to mention, there was a verse I wanted to say too. You all know it, Romans 1:20, for since the creation of the world, His invisible attributes, His eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so they are without excuse. We see God's glory. It's His general revelation. God also has special revelation, and He talks, He calls, and I pray that all of you, if you sense God's, maybe you don't have a personal relationship with the Lord, He calls us, He draws us, and through Christ's death on the cross, we have salvation, and then have that personal relationship with God through that. And I just ask today if there are any of you who would like to talk more about it. There are women here who would be more than happy to talk to you about it and show you scripture that God is a personal God. His glory is everywhere, and He desires for all to come to Him. We also have a prayer garden out here that we are working on and developing, and if anyone is interested and has ideas for the prayer garden and would like to donate plant materials or money toward plant materials, that would be appreciated too. But the most thing is, feel free to use our prayer garden. We have 2 beautiful benches, and we just want people out there and loving God, praying, and again recognizing that the whole earth is full of His glory. So that is the end of my talk.